films on release. The contrast in the two demonstrates his range and his versatility as an actor. One is a dark and erotic film called Young Adam. The other is a frothy, light-hearted confection like they used to make with Rock Hudson and Doris Day. It's called Down with Love. Welcome, please, Ewan McGregor. Down with Love, a romp, a romantic romp.
Yes, exactly, yeah. It was kind of like, I was so familiar with all those films. I don't really know why. I wasn't around when they were made, but
no,
I think it's from the, from like BBC Two matinees and the weekends. You know, I always used to watch those as a kid, and I'd be much happier watching old movies than watching children's television, so I was familiar with them all, you know.
The extraordinary thing about you now, of course, is because so basically the clout that Star Wars has given you, because, I mean, your life changed in that moment in time, didn't it? That you can now move between Hollywood and the kind of movies that you made your name on, like Trainspotting.
Yeah.
And Young Adam, the film that you've that's currently out, that you're starring, could not be more different than that frothy romp. I mean, it's a very dark movie. It's an erotic movie. It's a very sort of sexy and mysterious movie.
But we're good at that, you know, in this country. We're dark, edgy people. Look at this lot.
It's a story about a vague, a ruthless young man who ends up in a coal barge, working there living with a family.
Yeah.
And it's about the relationship he has, particularly with the women who drift in and out of his life. And he's a totally immoral character. And at the heart of it, too, there's a murder mystery as well. It's very sexy,
yes,
the film. There's lots of...
there's a lot of sex in it.
We have a lot of good, sort of explicit sex, in a sense, yes.
There's all kinds of things go on, poor Emily, but it was quite... Oh, no, really, I mean, there's a bag of sugar, there was a bottle of ink, there was brown sauce and red sauce and a bowl of custard. But it's just a lovely scene. I mean, it's a very important scene. This scene, which is now infamously called the custard scene, starts off when she comes in from the rain, she's very wet, and she undresses and dries herself. And we have a really normal argument. I'm obviously, I'm supposed to be a writer, and I haven't been able to write anything all day. So we have an argument about she's been out earning the bread and putting food on our table, and what have I done? I said, well, I made a bowl of custard. And she says, why did you make a bowl of custard? I said, well, I thought it was a good idea, so I made some. And I say that she's going to eat it, and she says, by this time she's naked, and she says, I'm not going to eat it. You know what you can do with it. And I say, I know what I'm going to do with it, and I pour it all over her. And then I take a stick out the fireplace and beat her on her bottom, and then pour all this stuff all over her, and then firmly make love to her from... It's a brilliant scene, and...
Will you go and see it?
But it really is. It really is a good scene, because when the scene ends, I mean, it's really ambiguous. It could almost seem like a rape. It's not really as clear until a scene later. I come back into the flat. I've left. I come back in and I crawl into bed, and she cuddles into me, and I say, oh, Kathy. And then you suddenly understand that this has been allowed. It's that their relationship is deep enough to allow this kind of sexual action to go on. So it's quite an important scene. And
but is there any embarrassment as an actor doing that?
No. No.
Is it not?
No. No, I don't think so. I mean, there have been, obviously, there's embarrassing moments in the long-distant past, but...
Have there?
Yes.
You got overexcited, perhaps.
I did once, yes. I'm only human. I've got blood in my veins and stuff like that. But it was a BBC drama, The Scarlet and the Black, Le Rouge et Noir. And I was playing this young chap who was having his first sexual experience. And it might have been my first... Oh, no, it wasn't. I was going to say on screen, but I don't think it was. That was another thing. But... yes, it was just the way it was set up, and yes, I got an erection.
Did you?
Yeah.
And
it was rather embarrassing. But mainly for me, I mean, you know, the actress in question just told me not to worry about it. It was fine. It's weird being on television talking about having an erection.
It must be...
With you.
It's a strange job you've got in it.
It is, but listen, you know, they become. I mean, especially in Young Adam, there's my character sleeps with 4 different women through the film, and they're a way of telling the story, like the music was in Moulin Rouge. We used the music to further the story, and so is the sex in Young Adam. It's not gratuitous. It's all quite different from the last sex scene, and it tells us something about Joe and the woman he's with at that moment, and it's a device in that way, you know. And you deal with it very carefully. I mean, it's not frivolous and all sexy on set, because there's people standing around filming it, and it's a very difficult thing to get right, you know.
Yeah,
you have to work quite hard at that.
Did you? I mean, when you signed up to be a movie star, I mean, when was the first time that you actually decided you wanted to be an actor? Was that way back in your past?
I mean, I was 9, I think.
9.
I can remember with my uncle Dennis.
Dennis Lawson.
Dennis Lawson, being 9 and asking him, saying, I want to be an actor, and how do I do that?
Yes.
And he said, you know, if you still want to be one in 10 years, come back and we'll have a chat, you know.
Did you want to be a film star? Is that what you wanted to do?
Yeah, well, I think so, probably.
Yes.
I mean, I really firmly want to be an actor, and now, at 9, I mean, I don't know that you know what an actor really means, but I wanted to be like my heroes. I suppose I wanted to be like Jimmy Stewart, and I wanted to tell stories like he told stories, you know. The best way to be a movie star is to be a good actor, you know.
Yes.
And there are actors, and it's a trap, I think, to try and chase the movie star side of things, and to chase being famous, and to chase being paid the most money and all of that stuff. But it doesn't lead you to happiness and satisfaction.
You went through that, didn't you, yourself, when you first started? There's a period that you had to make a reassessment of your life, didn't you?
I think so, yeah. It's quite easily done.
Yes.
But it's much... But then a decision was... I made a decision to focus more on the things that really make me happy, which are my work and my family, you know.
Yes.
And everything else is... it was too much for me to... I couldn't keep up with myself, you know what I mean? I was trying to be a good actor, a good dad, a good husband, and really good at drinking a lot. And I couldn't really... I couldn't keep all those 3 balls up in the air, so I just got rid of one of them. And
you say your family is terribly important to you, and so it is. You take them wherever you can when you're filming. Do you refer to your wife when you're talking about the sex scenes we've been talking about now? Yeah. Do you go to her and say, look, this is it? I mean, do you mind if I smear this one with custard and?
Well, I mean, I'll get Ev to read the script, and especially with something like Young Adam. I mean, I let Ev read the script before I said I would do it. Yes. Because I think it's important. Because of the nature of that film, and there is a lot of sexual content in it, that if she wasn't happy with that, then I wouldn't do it, you know. Right.
The tradition, of course, of Young Adam is one of a film, the kind of film that you actually did make your name under when you first came to public attention. That was Trainspotting. Mm-hmm. A very important movie in your life, that. And again, a very tough subject. I read somewhere that when you were researching that, you obviously went among heroin addicts, and first of all, the question is, what kind of view did it give you of that kind of society? And secondly, I read that you thought at one point of experimenting to see exactly what it was like.
Yes. That is something that I did in a moment of madness, really. I thought, oh, well, maybe I should do heroin to see what it's like. And then I started working with heroin addicts who were in recovery, and it would have been it would have been really offensive to them for me to do that, because I was using it as an excuse. I mean, had I gone and taken heroin in a room somewhere, it would have been an excuse. The film would have been an excuse for me to do that, and it's pointless. You know, it's really. It would have been really the wrong thing to do. You
once actually, I think your reputation from that film went ahead of you, didn't it, when you were trying to clear customs in America, was it?
I was getting into Chicago. I was doing an episode of ER, and I arrived in Chicago airport, and in my passport I had a visa, a Warner Brothers visa. I think Warner Brothers make ER. And the customs guy kind of half recognized me, but didn't really, and he looked at the Warner Brothers thing, and it said, you know, so he knew I was in films. And he asked what have I seen you in, you know? And I went, well, the only thing you'll have seen me in is Trainspotting, you know, because it's the only film that had gone overseas at that point. And he went, oh, yeah. And he wrote something on my card that I just thought meant, on you go. And he went, you want to go over there. And he pointed towards this big red section where everything was red and big red signs. Drug addict signs, you know. And I wandered over there, and they'd had every single thing out of my bag, and took me into a room and strip-searched me and all of that business because I'd played a heroin addict and because this guy just naturally assumed I'd be carrying massive amounts of smack in my bag, you know. Yeah.
Well, how old were you when you first saw Star Wars?
Well, I saw the first one. I mean, I remember vividly my being picked up outside the school with my brother wearing knee-length red socks and shorts, and to go and see Star Wars, to go and see my uncle, Dennis, who was in all three. And it was the first time I'd ever gone to the cinema to see Uncle Dennis in anything. And it happened to be Star Wars, you know. And I was completely blown away by it. And
what was the feeling when you went on the set for the first time?
Well, massive disappointment. Because I remember I was walking with George Lucas round the set up in Leavesden. We made the first one here in England. And we were walking around, and there was this submarine. There's the submarine section in episode 1. And they were building this submarine, you know. And I went, so, George, will we be... How far down will we be when we shoot that? And he went, what? I went, how deep underwater will we be when we film the submarine stuff? And he went, it's none of it real. I went, oh, no, yeah. And it's not. It's, you know, it's none of it real. I once made a joke to because doing press conferences or press junkets, as they're called, can get really tedious for us, because we just, all day long, you know, you're in a room with, and you sit there and a journalist comes in every 3 or 4 minutes and asks you the same questions. And after 4 days of that, it gets really tough to make it sound like it's the first time you've answered it. And I was being interviewed by this, I think, a Dutch or a German journalist, you know, whose grasp of English wasn't hugely strong. And I managed to slip in that we were shooting episode 2 entirely in outer space. And he was like that, yes. With this little thing. But yeah, we're going into space to shoot episode 2 entirely in outer space. Right, yes. I could just see him later getting home, you know, with this dictionary going, bastard, bastard.
But it's given you immense clout, that, hasn't it? I mean, actually, I think it is very tedious to make in the sense that you're not working with actors, are you? You're working against blue screen all the time, yeah. I
mean, there's a lot been said about it, and ultimately, the truth of the matter is I love being in Star Wars. I really like it. I like it for my kids. I like it for other kids that come up to speak to me. Because it's nice. I see it through their eyes, you know, and they remind me of being me, where they go, did you really cut Darth Maul in half, and how did you turn your lightsaber on? And
oh, what about the lightsaber? Now, come on, when you were a kid, you had a lightsaber, did you?
Yes.
And then, when you're an actor, you went there, and what?
I have the real thing.
Ah.
But it's, but it doesn't go... So you have to do that noise yourself, you know? It's ridiculous.
I was up recently in the summer up in your neck of the woods, staying with Billy Connolly.
Oh, yeah.
And your brother said hello one morning. Well, this airplane shot across, it went like that. And Billy said, that's Ewan Mcgregor's brother.
Yeah, it's true.
Giving us a wave.
Yeah, with the wings.
He's a fighter pilot.
He took me up, you know. I managed to get a flight with... My brother flies Tornadoes in the Royal Air Force, and we managed to swing it there, because I'd wanted to go up with him forever, in the back seat there. And I look after a charity up in Scotland, Chaz, it's a children's hospice association. And he was raising money for them that year as the display pilot. So I'm their figurehead, and he was raising money. So we got a trip, you know, and we got all the press up, and it was phenomenal. It was quite the most unbelievable sensation. I mean, you're going at 500 miles an hour, like 150 feet off the ground. It's just, you look like you could touch it, you know. And the feeling of acceleration and speed going down the glens in Scotland. I mean, we did a lap of Scotland in 1 hour and 20 minutes or something. And at the end, he did this incredible thing. Because it was rather beautiful. I'd never seen my brother at work. I'd never seen him doing what he does, you know. And I could just see you've got a radar screen in front of you. And just down there, I could see the side of his helmet. I was thinking, oh, it's my brother. Couldn't believe the sense of pride, the feeling of pride I had for him. You admired him. Oh, it was unbelievable. Yeah, yeah. The skill and the skill it requires. So yeah, at the end, he went. We'd just gone past Skye on our left. Beautiful. The only time I've ever seen it when it wasn't raining, when I was in the plane. And we went past Skye, and we were really low over the sea. And he went, okay. And he slowed everything right down. And we were going quite slowly. And the wings swept forward a bit like that. And he went, are you ready? I went, all right, like that. And he swept the wings back and he put it into full reheats, I think they call it, afterburners. And we just took off along the sea like that. It was unbelievable. And when he got to top speed, he sat the plane on its tail and just shot it up into the sky. We just went, whoa, 14,000 feet in like 4 seconds or something. It was insane. It was insane. But it was lovely to be up there with him, you know, it was nice.
Did it put your job into perspective?
Yes. I wear makeup for a living. You know what I mean? He's up there like that.
Ewan McGregor, thank you very much indeed.
It's my great pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
My thanks to Ewan McGregor, to Stephen Fry, Ronnie Ancona and Dido. Next week, my guests will be Sir Sean Connery, Ricky Tomlinson, Boris Johnson and the singer, and a very good singer too, Michael Bublé. Until then, a very good night. Good night.
Stay with us now as Cary Grant and Shirley Temple star in the romantic comedy The Bachelor and the Bobby Soxer.
Hi, George Negus here, and we're back next week with George Negus Tonight, Monday to Thursday at 6:30. See you then for a truly different way of looking at this marvellous and fascinating joint of ours.